So this week in movies, we've got a whole bunch of follow-ups to talk about. Plus, we got a proper trailer for Megalopolis and a weird announcement from Warner Brothers Discovery as far as The Lord of the Rings is concerned. So let's do that. Hello nerds! You have found the place for all of the nerdy movie updates worth talking about. More than just comic book movies, though that is a good chunk of what we cover here in the news. We get nerdy about all kinds of movies, as well as the art of making movies in general. If you like this kind of news reporting, then go check out the full show over on the main channel called The Week in Nerddom, where we talk about TV and comic books and gaming and rumors and etc., everything in between. You can find the link to that down in the description or at the end of this video. Now, let's hear about all that movie goodness, shall we? Let's talk about follow-ups and corrections this week. Real quick, we have Fantastic Four. We have some casting stuff that we really got to talk about. We have Ralph Ineson has been cast as Galactus, which is great. Ralph Ineson has done a number of things. Really, the reason they cast him is because he has just a fantastic voice. As far as like nerdy things go, I don't know that I saw anything of note in his filmography that's like super nerdy and qualifying, but he does like a lot of period stuff because he's a British actor and just has this fantastic voice for a character like Galactus. So that's pretty freaking awesome. This kills the rumors though, because we've been talking about Javier Bardem and Antonio Banderas possibly being the ones that play Galactus in the MCU, because that's what all the rumors have been saying. And that seems to not be the case at all. So there's that. We also have John Malkovich and Paul Walter Hauser have been cast in the Fantastic Four movie, both in undisclosed roles. Plus, we also have Natasha Lyonne, whom you will recognize. She was in American Pie. She was in the third Blade movie. She was in Blade Trinity. She did that Russian doll show. She's done a number of things. She's the red-haired actress that, honestly, really funny. I really dig Natasha Lyonne. She's been cast in Fantastic Four, also in an undisclosed role. So there is that. Moving on in follow-ups and corrections, we have a new follow-up for the Roadhouse movie, Jake Gyllenhaal and company. There is a sequel coming for the Jake Gyllenhaal Roadhouse movie. Also not getting a theatrical release, just like the first one didn't. It's coming, no real window set to return just yet, but Jake Gyllenhaal is coming back to make the movie, so sure. I mean, it was a lot of fun the first time. Why won't the second one be fun too? Release dates, moving back. These are a couple of changing release. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Brand newly announced release dates, not changing release dates. Supergirl has been announced with a June 26th, 2026 release date. And then Mortal Kombat 2, we have October 24th of 2025. So still over a year for Mortal Kombat and about 2 years for Supergirl. From there, though, we also have new announcement in the John Wick franchise. There is a new spin-off movie that is going to be focused on the character of Kane, who was in episode 4, now freed up from the things that were whatever. I haven't watched episode 4 for John Wick, but yeah, Kane, little Asian dude, looks pretty great. It's John Wick, so it's going to be action-packed, and that's kind of all we really know about it at this point. So let's move on. Our one trailer that we're talking about this week is the proper trailer for Megalopolis. If you don't remember, Megalopolis is the new Francis Ford Coppola movie that is going to be really interesting science fiction. If you don't know who Francis Ford Coppola is, you need to study film a little bit more, but you know, Dracula, Apocalypse Now, Godfather, etc., all of the greats, if you will. But yeah, new trailer gives us a little bit more to go on from the teaser that we got a couple of weeks ago, and this looks like it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be really good because Francis Ford Coppola just does good movies, but just the premise and the storytelling are going to be very, very interesting. Go link in the description. From there, we have a couple of pieces of regular ass news. I'm going to flip them in the notes. I'm just saying that out loud, so as I'm editing this, I'll remember to put the proper pictures where they need to go. Flipping them, the first one we're going to talk about is the passing of Roger Corman. We talked actually about Roger Corman not too long ago because the special, what was it? The Valentine's special, I believe, for Joe Bob over on Shudder, they did a Roger Corman movie. Actually, no, it was a dedicated to Roger Corman's body of work. So it was 2 Roger Corman movies. And honestly, the event, I believe they did 4 Roger Corman movies if you were there live. If you were there live, the comment sections down below, let's talk about that experience because I'm sure it was incredible. Either way, Roger Corman, who is legendary director, just movie guy in general, kind of notoriously B movies. That is kind of his stock and trade, is making B movies. But that's not to discredit his work or his contributions to theater, because the dude started a lot of careers. He was making movies for a very, very long time. Yeah, legendary Roger Corman has passed, which is weird. He was 98 years old, so like it shouldn't be shocking, but this one was a little shocking. He did want to do a remake of his version of Little Shop of Horrors. So the Little Shop of Horrors that everybody knows, the musical with I'm gonna brain fart his name, Rick Moranis, there we go. The musical with Rick Moranis, etc., was based on the screenplay that Roger Corman produced as a movie that was not a musical. It was a black and white movie, and then that got turned into a stage production, and the stage production is what got turned into the musical movie. It's kind of how that works. So he wanted to do a reboot of his original movie that started all of that, which is, it is very lofty goals for a 98-year-old, and I was honestly quite excited at the prospect of getting something new from Roger Corman. All of that being said, I was unable to find the cause of death for Mr. Corman, and I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. He's no longer with us, and the movie industry is without a giant, much like the music industry in that section this week. So we're going to take a moment and remember Roger Corman because dude was amazing. Okay. Now, let's talk about Lord of the Rings. So, Lord of the Rings, Warner Brothers Discovery has made it known that there is going to be 2 new movies in the franchise. The first of which has a title. It's going to be called Hunt for Gollum. There will be, like I said, there will be 2 different movies. The second one does not yet have a subtitle, but it is kind of noteworthy here because a number of things. First off, we have Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson both returning to the project. Serkis this time will be directing. Presumably he will not be playing Gollum, though possibly he will be playing Gollum. And Peter Jackson, who originally directed, is now going to be in as the producer, as the executive producer. So that's fairly noteworthy, but also like, no word as to exactly where in the Tolkien lore they're going to be pulling from to get the information to write these stories. So there's a lot of follow-up here. I do want to pass this one off to you. A, what are your thoughts on them returning to Middle-earth? What are your thoughts on exactly what story could be told here? For somebody who's maybe a little bit more familiar with the lore than I am, like I've read the books, but that was probably I read the last one over a decade ago. So let's talk about that, shall we? That's what we got though this week for the movies section. Aside from movie suggestion this week, it's been a suggestion fairly recently, but we're going to say Onyx the Fortuitous. This time you don't have to pay to watch it though. It is moving over to Tubi. I don't know if it's available right now, but it should be available very, very soon according to the Bowser Vids YouTube channel. Andrew Bowser is the guy who created Onyx the Fortuitous, who also plays Onyx the Fortuitous. If you haven't seen it yet, please go see Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. That is your movie suggestion of this week. It is classic, like low-grade comedy horror, but done with practical effects and with so much heart and soul. Like, it will sell you even if you've never heard of the character Onyx the Fortuitous. Go watch it. It's worth it. That's your suggestion for the week. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.